Today, we're going to talk about Vengeance. Vengeance is a new black comedy that is written, directed, and starring BJ Novak. The character that BJ plays kind of is drifting through life. He's a writer trying to find that something that's going to put him on the map. He's also unable to commit to any relationship, drifting through those as well, where he has a string of girls, a string of hookups. He identifies these girls in his phones by traits, for example, Random House Brunette versus using their names. One night he gets a call from one of his hookups' brother letting him know that one of the girls that he had been messing around with has died. His brother persuades him into going into this middle of the nowhere town in Texas to go to the funeral. One of the traits of BJ's character is he's not really able to say no, and therefore he gets persuaded into going to this funeral in Texas for this girl he barely knows. After the funeral, the brother attempts to get BJ to stay longer because he believes that his sister was murdered versus just dying from an overdose, because the girl doesn't use drugs, has never even taken an Advil. BJ's character doesn't necessarily believe that this girl has been murdered. However, he's uses the opportunity to take advantage of this family, of this brother, of this small town in the middle of nowhere that are more like characters than people, use them for a story for a podcast. After BJ gets the green light from his producer, he then starts interviewing the town, the family, those that may have known her, to see if they can find out if this was a murder or not. So this movie I felt was more of a drama than a comedy, and the jokes did land, and I did have moments where I chuckled. After the first act, it really becomes more serious, and you really start to go into drama versus comedy. I really enjoyed the performances. All the performances were well done. There are two standouts. Issa Rae, she really stole the show in any scene that she was in. She played the producer of the podcast that BJ's character was working on. I like almost everything that Issa Rae's in. I think she's going to someday get an Oscar. Her character very much exudes confidence. Like, she knows what'll be good. She knows what's happening. The other standout is Ashton Kutcher. He plays a record producer. He has this kind of like strange, unusual presence. At first you think he's not all that intelligent. As you learn more about him, as the character learns more about him, you start to see he has this like presence, like commanding a room, can calm people down, can get them to do whatever he wants. And that instead of being this dumb character, he's actually extremely intelligent and profound. As a matter of fact, all of the characters at first are like set up to be rather dumb characters. But as you go through this story, you come to realize that although these people live simple lives, that doesn't mean that they're actually dumb people. It's kind of an ongoing theme in this movie where people are not always what you expect them to be. My problem with the movie is there were a lot of these lulls in the film. Not to say this movie was slow necessarily. It's definitely not a slow burn. It keeps you going through the whole thing, but there were just these moments, these choppy moments, took me out. Like, I was feeling bored. It could have been the time of day. It could have been, the day of the week that maybe this wasn't the type of movie to watch on that day. But for me, it really hindered me liking this movie more than I did. I wanted more of the family. I wanted more of the town interaction, which, I mean, you get a lot of it, but I feel like there was just something missing, something more that would have really, just made this movie go from one rating to another, in my opinion. By the end of the movie, there were a lot of questions that I had, and they weren't questions necessarily of, making the movie seem like it's more profound. It was more like, well, wait, how did this happen? And that doesn't make sense, which really took me out of the story. And when I'm thinking about those in a movie, instead of, wait, what about that ending? What happened there? It means that something's kind of missing. I will say the ending does pack a punch, but again, getting to that journey, getting to that moment, just, I don't know, felt a little jumbled, not cohesive. For my rating, I am giving this movie a 6 out of 10, which would be in my okay tier. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it's not a great movie, or it's just not landing to be able to, for me to put that in the good tier. Now, funny enough, my fiance, he actually enjoyed this movie a lot more than me, which even more so weird is I'm usually the one who likes black comedies, and this wouldn't be his thing, and would give it I believe a 7 out of 10, and he would put it in his good tier. What's interesting is at the time of this recording, looking at Rotten Tomatoes, I'm definitely in the minority. Critics are giving this a 79%, and the audience score is at 83%. Where I would have potentially said with my recommendation maybe to skip it or definitely stream it on one of your already paid streaming services, with that rating, I'm going to say go ahead and stream it. Now, if you have the means to go ahead and splurge and go to a movie theater, this isn't going to be spectacular in a movie theater. However, I always want to support movie theaters as much as possible. So have you seen Vengeance? Do you feel the same way that I do? Or do you completely disagree? Did you hate the movie? Did you like the movie? Who is your favorite character? Please leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!